One of the most popular questions in the video game world has to be, how much do graphics matter? We've welcomed more and more great games into the fold that don't have the greatest graphics, like Minecraft, Valheim, and Roblox. But against all the odds, they still found a way to leave their mark in the gaming industry. So how is it possible for all these games with such mediocre graphics to become so popular? Well, that's because graphics don't matter as much as you probably think they do. It turns out that the gameplay and user experience will always trump graphics. I think that, as a gamer, if you think graphics are everything, you're going about things all wrong. While it's great to marvel at the graphics of a game, they aren't everything, and oftentimes, the developers have no choice but to make a game with below-average graphics. A lot of games with unimpressive graphics have one thing in common. They're all developed by a small indie team. Indie teams are usually composed of 30 or less employees. So imagine trying to make a game with gorgeous, top-of-the-line graphics when your team consists of just 30 people. It's very unlikely that you're going to be able to get high-quality graphics in your game with just a few people working on 3D character models, motion capture, and all that fun stuff. Your game would literally be in development for decades with such a small team. It just makes absolutely no sense for an indie team to go that route. It's not time-effective at all, and most importantly, it's not very cost-effective either. You may not know a lot about what goes on behind the scenes, but I'm fairly confident that you know it takes a whole lot of time and effort to develop a video game. AAA studios have hundreds of people working on a game, and they're worth billions of dollars. So money is no object for them when they know they're going to make all of it back and then some once their game is released. The harsh reality is that indie studios don't have that same luxury. Some AAA studios have budgets in the hundred millions, while indie developers often have budgets between $100,000 to $500,000. With such little cash to go around, indie dev teams are forced to be small in size and focus on perfecting the things that matter most to gamers. Out of necessity, graphics are put on the back burner while they focus on other areas. This is why indie games tend to have pixel graphics and low-res textures. Look at Minecraft, for example. While Mojang has grown in size to the point that it now has over 600 employees, at first it wasn't nearly as big. It was never an option for them to create a game with stunning graphics, and for good reason. You can manipulate all of the cubes you see in Minecraft, and they're such an important part of the gameplay that I can't see any other aesthetic fitting the world better than those low-res graphics. Minecraft with lifelike graphics would just be so weird. It would feel like a completely different game. When the graphics mesh with the game mechanics as seamlessly as Minecraft, you can't complain about the quality of them one bit. Some would call them ugly, I call them perfect. Indie developers have become so popular over the years because they're making games the right way, and think much differently than AAA studios. It's as simple as that. Indie devs are nothing if not efficient, so they don't waste any of their time and effort on anything other than the gameplay and storytelling. It's content first, graphics later, and gamers like myself love that. The indie gaming scene is booming because they know gamers are always looking for something more, something the AAA devs aren't giving us. In fact, the indie gaming business is probably as big as it's ever been. We're seeing new projects pop up on Kickstarter every single day, and even the humble indie bundle is at an all-time high in terms of popularity. It's really not a bad time to be an indie developer. Now don't get me wrong, I have nothing against AAA studios. I buy Call of Duty every single year on repeat, so it's not like I'm boycotting the big-name developers or anything. It's just that sometimes they miss the point. They give gamers what they think we need, and not what we actually need. Oftentimes, AAA studios want their game to look as good as possible to try and hide the imperfections it may have. We see that a whole lot in franchises with yearly releases, like sports games and COD, for example. Seriously, so many people played Modern Warfare's multiplayer and said, "This game looks so good, but I just don't enjoy it at all." Warzone is amazing, and I have almost nothing bad to say about it. But Modern Warfare's multiplayer? Yeah, even the incredible graphics couldn't save it. In terms of sports games, EA will often straight up remove features from the previous year and think we'll forget about it because the game looks marginally better. Sometimes AAA developers just seem more focused on making money than developing a solid game, which can rub gamers the wrong way. If they would only listen to the community a bit more, things would be different. With indie developers, you never hear people talk about how the graphics are good but the game is underwhelming. If anything, it's usually the other way around. The most popular thing I hear when people talk about indie games is something along the lines of, "Yeah, the graphics aren't great, but the game is so good because of the storytelling or the gameplay." Indie developers just do things the right way. They listen to the community and don't tend to get on our nerves as much as the AAA studios. For that, I'm eternally grateful. I also just want to quickly touch on marketing, which is another area where AAA studios have indie developers beat. Remember when I said AAA studios had budgets in the hundred millions of dollars? Well, they use some of that budget to market their game through commercials and billboards, giving them even more visibility. Indie developers simply can't afford to do that. I can't remember ever seeing a commercial for an indie game, not even one as big as Minecraft or Roblox. The marketing for their games is mainly through word of mouth and online news articles, so they know how important it is to get people talking and make a good game. At the end of the day, I'll always take gameplay over graphics. Sure, that may be the retro gamer inside of me talking, but I truly believe that there are much more important aspects to a game than its graphics. In fact, I don't think graphics matter at all. Of course, having good graphics is a pretty big selling point for a game, because you wouldn't believe how many people buy a game just because its trailer looks good. But it isn't everything. In my opinion, good graphics just enhance the gaming experience, but they don't make the experience good on its own. They simply add to the atmosphere. The story, character development, replay value, gameplay, controls, and accessibility features are all more important aspects of a video game than its graphics. If a game's graphics are good, but it suffers in any of these aspects, it most likely won't be well received by critics because a game is more than just its graphics. A good game has to find a balance between all these aspects, and at that point, high-quality graphics are just a plus. If you're a big graphics guy, then you'll understandably find indie games with their pixel graphics to be quite unappealing, so I'm just asking you to try and see past that. The video game industry is definitely not regressing or forgetting about all of the advanced tech we have at our disposal. They're just getting smarter and thinking outside the box. Video games don't all need to be these $200 million projects with perfect graphics, next-level motion capture, and high-quality voice acting. They could just be about some pixely dude walking his way through a pixely world. As long as the gameplay and storytelling is enthralling, it will get noticed in the video game world. Without a doubt, we need both AAA studios and indie devs in the video game industry right now, so we can get the best of both worlds. AAA studios will continue to make games with hyper-realistic graphics, and small indie teams will keep making less visually appealing games. That will never change because once indie teams start making AAA quality games, they're officially a AAA studio. You just can't make games of that quality as an indie dev, but you could still make quality games. You know what I'm trying to say. That's just how the video game business works. It's not for the faint of heart. Gameplay is king when it comes to gaming, while graphics just enhance the experience. Never forget that. Personally, Minecraft is one of my favorite games because of how creative it allows me to be. There's pretty much nothing you can't do in Minecraft. Plus, you could just download texture packs if graphics are that important to you. I like my Minecraft vanilla. I know it's boring, but maybe I'm just boring.